Dear students, today we will learn about statistical investigation. And planning of statistical investigation. This we will learn in today's lesson. But before that, we will come to know about what is statistical investigation. An investigation or inquiry means search for information or search for knowledge. Statistical investigation or statistical inquiry means search for knowledge with the help of statistical methods. Statistical investigation is a technical job which requires specialized knowledge and skill. Statistical investigation thus implies search for knowledge with the help of statistical devices. Statistical investigation requires considerable skill on the part of the statistician. Broad knowledge of the subject matter area is required by the principal investigator and his associates. And not only the points that we have discussed, the principal investigator should have considerable ingenuity in overcoming the numerical facts, since statistical analysis is not possible without them. Statistical inquiries have always required considerable skill on the part of the statistician, rooted in a broad knowledge of the subject matter area and combined with considerable ingenuity in overcoming practical difficulties. This was stated by Griffin. For example, if an investigation is made into accounts of a college hostel, then the investigation will mainly cover income from residents as seat rent, meal charge, any grant from the college, the expenditure as hostel rent, overhead charges, expenditure on dry rations, broad meals, including special meals, and expenditure for annual functions. So this total information is required for conducting investigation. Now we will discuss organization of statistical investigation. Statistical investigation is a long and comprehensive process. It extends over various stages from initial planning to finalization of report or ultimate drafting of report. From initial planning to ultimate drafting of report, statistical investigation is a very lengthy and comprehensive process. The steps or the stages of statistical investigation we will examine. Planning of statistical investigation is the first stage. Planning implies what, why, where, when, by whom, how. All these questions have to be framed. why we are conducting a research, why we are conducting an investigation, where it has to be conducted, what is the area, when the investigation has to be carried out, what is the duration, whether it is days or weeks or months or years, likewise. They have to plan properly. So the investigator has to answer these questions. Why he is conducting investigation, what for, when, the duration, where, geographical area the research has to be conducted or the investigation has to be made. He has to plan the resources as well. What are the resources? Why only this many resources? Why not those resources? Where, from where those resources have to be brought to the central point? All these questions he has to answer. That forms part of planning. Now, collection of data. After planning, he has to go for collection of data. The first step in the conduct of a statistical investigation or inquiry is collection of data. The person who conducts the inquiry is known as an investigator, and the persons from whom the information is to be collected are known as respondents, and the persons who help the investigator in collecting data are called enumerators. Three persons are involved. Kindly listen carefully. The person who conducts the inquiry is known as an investigator. The persons from whom the information has to be collected are known as respondents, and the persons who help the investigator in collecting data are called enumerators. So there are various sources of collection of data. Primarily, internal sources of data collection are there. External sources of data are also available. Again, in external, you can classify them as primary data, secondary data sources. Now, internal source. Internal data comes from the government departments and business organizations which generate them in the form of production, purchase, expenditure, accounting system, etc. Internal data. Data collected and compiled to internal sources is called internal data. Again saying, data collected and compiled through internal sources is called internal data. So external data or external source. When data is collected from outside the organization, these are said to be collected from external sources. So external data, data collected by external sources is called as external data. External data are collected either from the primary sources or from the secondary sources. Thus, the statistical data are of two types: primary data, secondary data. We will discuss primary data. It refers to the statistical materials which the investigator originates for himself for the purpose of the inquiry in hand. In other words, it is one which is collected by the investigator for the first time. For example, if the cost of living of workers in a city are to be computed, then the information regarding the facts collected by the investigators or enumerators would be termed as primary data. In India, there are some agencies which collect primary data. For example, National Sample Survey, state level economic and statistical departments, etc. When we use primary data, it is called raw material. According to Wessel, when we use primary data, it is called as raw material. According to Wessel, data originally collected in the process of investigation are known as primary data. Now coming to secondary data. We are discussing collection of data. Statistical data are of two types, primary data, secondary data. We have discussed primary data. Now coming to secondary data. It refers to the statistical material which is not originated by the investigator himself, but obtained from some other person's records. Means it is obtained from someone else's records, or when primary data is utilized for any other purpose, at some subsequent inquiry, it is termed as secondary data. This type of data is generally taken from newspapers, magazines, bulletins, reports, journals, etc. If the data published by RBI on currency, national income, exports or imports, or poverty, or trade cycles or business cycles, if it is used in some other statistical inquiry, it will be termed as secondary data. According to M.M. Blair, secondary data are those already in existence for some other purpose than the answering of the question in hand. Secondary data is used where adequate and authentic records are already available. To collect primary data on the phenomenon is costly. To collect primary data on the phenomenon is time consuming. However, you have to keep in mind two major problems which are faced while using secondary data. One is to find data which exactly match the needs of the project. That is one problem. To find a data which is sufficiently accurate, to find that one also is very, very difficult. So we have examined two aspects. One is planning of statistical investigation. Second one is collection of data. And third one is editing of data. So editing of data after planning is over, of the investigation, after collection of data is over, you have to edit the data that has been collected. The data may be from primary source or secondary source. The investigator has to edit the data, or the enumerators have to edit the data and pass that information to the chief investigator, that is principal investigator. So editing of data requires, nowadays, as all of you know, they are taking the help of computers or advanced softwares, so that editing of data becomes easy for them. So classifying in a diagrammatic representation or graphical presentation, the data has to be submitted. So before that, they have to edit it, means they have to tabulate it, they have to organize the data. And why editing is required? Purposes of editing, if you examine, editing for completeness, editing is required. For achieving uniformity, editing is required. For achieving consistency, editing is required. For accuracy, for ensuring accuracy, editing is required. For that, data has to be classified. So what do you mean by classification? The process of arranging the data in groups or classes according to their common characteristics is technically known as classification. Classification is the grouping of related facts into classes. It is the first step in tabulation. Tabulation means arranging the data in a table form. So if you look at the characteristic features of classification, you will understand in classification the data collected are distributed in different groups or classes. The distribution is based on common characteristics possessed by the data, that is the data bearing a particular characteristics are kept in one group. The groups can be actual or notional. The classification brings out or projects the unity or similarity amongst the diversity in the data. So to make the characteristics of similarities and dissimilarities clear, classification is required. To present the complex data into simple form, classification is required. To make comparative study possible, classification is required. To make possible the analysis and generalization of the data, classification is required. The classification facilitates clarity, stability, flexibility, homogeneity, to a data. Now the classification may be based on geographical classification, chronological classification, it may be conditional classification, it may be qualitative classification, it may be quantitative classification. In editing of data, classification is part and parcel of editing. So after editing of data is over, you have to present the data. It may be in a tabular form, or it may be diagrammatic, or pictorial, or in other words, graphical, diagrammatical, or graphical presentation of data is required. If you present the data in diagrams or graphical presentation, if you give, it will be very nice. The people who are coming across the data will be able to understand the data very easily. That is why presentation of data is very, very important. Now analysis of data is required. In the next stage, analysis of data is required. So for analysis of data, there are various techniques available, right from measures of central tendency to regression or to correlation. There are various methods, various techniques available with the help of which analysis can be taken up. Now, interpretation of data. So after the data has been analyzed, and you have to interpret the data in an appropriate way. We are discussing organization of statistical investigation, and we are in the 6th stage, interpretation of data. So in our earlier classes, we have discussed that lies are of 3 types: lies and damn lies, and ultimately statistics. The highest of the lies are known as statistics, because After the analysis is over, interpretation can go either way. So statistics can prove anything. Statistics can prove everything. So proper interpretation of the data is required. Based on the interpretation of the data only, management or investigator will take his decision, will come to a conclusion over his investigation. So that is why interpretation of data is very, very important. Now at the end, preparation of the report will be there. So in preparation of the report, the investigator, the principal investigator will finally give his or present his conclusions in a report form. It may be in a writing or it may be typed by computer. So after planning of statistical investigation, collection of data, editing of data, presentation of data, analysis of data, interpretation of data, ultimately preparation of the report will come, and that is the final stage in statistical investigation. So there are 7 stages in a statistical investigation: planning, collecting, editing, presenting, analyzing, interpreting, and preparing of the report. So after this many stages are over, you can say that statistical investigation has been completed. Now we will come to know about what is planning of statistical investigation. So for anything in a life, planning is required. Planning in simple terms means thinking in advance as to framing questions and answering for the betterment in future. Whatever we want to become, whatever we want to achieve, we have to have a plan. So similarly, a statistician or similarly an investigator, a principal investigator will frame, as discussed earlier, will frame certain questions. What, why, when, where, all these things will crop up in his mind. And he will have to answer before proceeding in his investigation. What for he is conducting research, why he is conducting research, where he has to carry out research, how much time is required, what are the essential resources for this research, what are the monetary resources or manpower required, everything he has to plan in advance. From where raw materials can be procured, all these things he has to plan in advance. So planning of statistical investigation is very, very crucial. Based on plan only, subsequently everything can be achieved. If proper planning is there, ultimate end is going to be very nice for the investigator. If proper planning is not made, end is going to be very dangerous for the investigator. So you have to establish a proper system to achieve your goals. So planning implies proper system is prepared, proper system is prepared by the principal investigator for carrying out his investigation. In these two parts, planning is going to be there, executing the plan is going to be there. So these two are very, very important. Simply planning without executing is useless. Executing without planning is meaningless. So planning must precede the execution. So before we execute, before we carry out any activity, we have to have a proper planning in place first. Then we have to execute. So execution means carrying out what is mentioned in the planning. So these two are interdependent. The planning will come first, then execution will come later. So careful planning is very essential to get the best results at the minimum cost and a minimum child. So it is essential to consider the points that we will discuss while planning a statistical investigation. What are they? We will discuss now. So before that, I am repeating, planning is very crucial in a human being's life. Similarly, for investigation purpose also, planning is of utmost importance. And the planner should keep all these things in mind. Objective of the inquiry should be fully known. Without objective, we cannot achieve anything. Without goal, we cannot achieve anything. Without an objective in mind, the investigator's resources will be wasted. The scope of the inquiry should be determined. So what, why, where, when, by whom, how, all these questions have to be answered before carrying out his research or investigation. Nature of information to be collected should be decided. Unit of data collection should be defined. Sources of data collection or type of data to be used, that is whether, as I have already told you, whether it is primary data or secondary data, should be decided in advance. So without deciding in advance whether the investigator is interested in carrying out his investigation based on primary sources of data or secondary sources of data, it is not proper to go ahead with the investigations. So in his mind, he should be clear whether he is taking the entire population into consideration, that is entire census into consideration, or only sample of the census into consideration. And again, the data, whether primary data is sufficient or secondary data is sufficient, or primary data he will only frame, he will only gather for the first time from the census or from the sample. He has to plan in advance. So these things he has to keep in mind. Then the method of data collection, that is census or sampling method, should be decided beforehand. So in advance only he has to decide. Then choice of frame should be made. Then reasonable standard of accuracy should be fixed. What is the accuracy that he is expecting from his investigation, whether it is 1% confidence level or 5% confidence level. So the confidence limits he has to fix. That standard that he wants to achieve should be fixed in advance. Now we will continue about collection of data. So as discussed earlier, there are going to be 3 persons in collection of data. That is investigator, that is the main principal person who conducts inquiry. Then you will have enumerators. So investigator, he is the investigator. On his own, he may not be able to carry out his research. So he will take the help of other persons who are going to be of some help to him. These are known as enumerators. These persons will help him in achieving his objective. So with the help of these enumerators, the ultimate goal, the ultimate aim of investigation can be achieved. Without the help of human resources, other resources, it will be very cumbersome for the principal investigator or the main person involved in carrying out research. And it will be very time consuming. It will be very lethargic for the principal investigator. So he is the principal investigator, and these he has employed, let us take for example, these 4 enumerators. And these enumerators will gather information from respondents. From various persons, they will collect responses, and those responses will be present it to the investigator, and he will come to a conclusion. He will derive conclusions based on the reports submitted by enumerators. So in any investigation, principal investigator is going to be there, enumerators are going to be there. If he is capable of doing investigation on his own, he will not go for the help of these enumerators. If on his own he cannot carry out research, it is a very big research project, means he has to take the help of all the enumerators that he has employed. Now, determination of its aims and objectives he has to take up. So in collection of data, what type of data, whether primary data is going to collect or secondary data is going to collect, he has to think about them in advance, about the resources, and the resources that are available with him. He has to take a look at those resources, and he has to plan for his research activity or investigation activity. Now he has to choose another very important decision, that is whether he is going to conduct his investigation based on population method, or that is also known as census method or sample method. So what is population? Population includes all objects of interest, whereas the sample is only a portion of the population. Parameters are associated with the population. The word parameter is associated with population, whereas the word statistics is associated with samples. Parameters are usually denoted using Greek letters, mu, sigma, like that. I will show you. Mu. If we are using these symbols, these Greek letters, it implies we are speaking about parameters. Parameters means it is a characteristic feature of population, that is census. Entire population without leaving anybody. If the investigator investigates in his research, that is known as population method. While statistics uses Roman letters like X and S. Using these Roman letters, statistics are going to be presented. There are several reasons why we don't work with populations. They are usually large, and it is often impossible to gather data. For every object we are studying, sampling does not usually occur without cost. And the more items surveyed, the larger the cost. So the principal investigator, the investigator has to keep in mind his available resources and how he is going to execute his actions. So methods of data collection, as specified, as mentioned earlier, there is census method. This is also known as population method. And secondly, there is sample method also available. Now in census method, all members of the population are studied, and the population refers to the set of all observations under concern. For example, if you want to carry out a survey to find out students' feedback about the facilities of your school or college, all the students of your school or the college, as the case may be, form a part of the population for your study. As you all know, in our country, for every 10 years, population survey is being made. It's the entire data of the population will be carried out. That is known as census. As you all know, for decades, it is going to be carried out. The data is going to be collected. So that collection of data without leaving anybody in the population is known as population method or census method. At a more realistic level, a country wants to maintain information and records about all households. It can collect this information by surveying all households in the country using the census method. In our country, as I have already told you, the government conducts the census of India every 10 years. The census appropriates information from households regarding their incomes, the earning members, the total number of children, members of the family, etc. This method must take into account all the units without leaving anyone. Once collected, the census of India reveals demographic information such as birth rates, death rates, total population, population growth rate, literacy, sex ratio, etc. The census is a study of every unit, everyone or everything in a population. It is known as a complete enumeration, which means a complete count. Enumerate means to count. So a population may be studied using one of the two approaches, taking a census or selecting a sample. It is important to know that whether a census or a sample is used, both provide information that can be used to draw conclusions about the whole population. Ultimately, the chief investigator's main aim is to draw conclusion about the population, whether he is choosing population method or census method, in other words, or sample method. His main aim is to draw conclusions about the entire population. Now, we will have a look at the sample method. Some representative group from the population and then make observations accordingly. So in sample method, instead of taking the entire population into consideration, some representative group from the population is drawn out and studies will be conducted or data will be gathered from the representative group, and ultimately whatever information that is gathered, whatever data that is collected will be applied to the entire population. So you have to keep in mind, the larger the sample, the more near it is going to be your research towards the population characteristics. Means, as we have discussed, if the sample size increases, the statistics will be close to parameter. As I have already mentioned, sample is a characteristic feature of, statistic is a characteristic feature of sample, whereas parameter is a characteristic feature of population method or census method. This representative group, which contains some units from the whole population, is called as the sample. The first most important step in selecting a sample is to determine the population. Once the population is identified, a sample must be selected. A good sample is one which is small in size. It provides adequate information about the whole population, and it takes less time to collect and is less costly. So these things he has to keep in mind, the investigator has to keep in mind. The sample should be small. It should provide adequate information about the whole population. So that is very, very important for the, so the investigator should see to it that the sample is in size is very small and it represents the entire population. So he has to design the sample in a very careful manner. The sample method is a process for choosing sample members from a population, for choosing representative members from a population. So types of sampling, there are various techniques in sampling method. Random sampling is the easiest way of picking sample from the population. It is just like doing a lottery, lucky dip, and the person who comes out, he will be picked. So random sampling is analogous to putting everyone's name into a hat and drawing out several names. Each element in the population has an equal chance of occurring. While this is the preferred way of sampling, it is often difficult to do. It requires that a complete list of every element in the population be obtained. Computer-generated lists are often used with random sampling nowadays. systematic sampling is easier to do than random sampling. In systematic sampling, what they are going to do is they are going to list out all the elements in the population, and every nth element or every 10th element, every kth element, nth element, every sixth element, likewise they will pick up, they will draw. This is similar to lining everyone up and numbering of 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. When done numbering, when all numbering is over, all people numbered 1 will be drawn out, or all people numbered 2 will be drawn out. All people with number 3 will be drawn out for sampling. Convenient sampling is another method. So in sampling, random sampling is there, systematic sampling. In random sampling, there is no fixed way. Simply we will pick up. It's random, we will pick up, and everybody has equal chance of coming into the sample. In systematic sampling, they are put in a particular order, and every particular item will be drawn out from the population. So convenient sampling is very easy to do, but it is probably the worst technique to use. In convenient sampling, readily available data is used. That is the first people the surveyor runs into. So whomsoever the surveyor, the investigator wants to pick, or the enumerators want to pick, they will be picked up because it is convenient for them. So there is no fixed method. Simply whoever they come across, those persons have a chance to be picked up in the sampling. Now cluster sampling is there, and cluster sampling is accomplished by dividing the population into groups, usually geographically. These groups are called as clusters or blocks. The clusters are randomly selected, and each element in the selected clusters are used. Now stratified sampling is there. So strata also means division into groups. Stratified sampling also divides the population into groups called strata. However, this time it is by some characteristic, not geographically. So in a cluster, see, find out the try to understand the difference between the two, cluster sampling and stratified sampling. See, in cluster sampling, population is divided into groups based on a particular geographical location. Whereas in stratified sampling also, population is divided into groups. In both the cases, groups, division of population into certain groups to be picked up as sample is there. But in cluster sampling, the grouping is done geographically. It has to be kept in mind. Keeping a particular location in mind, keeping a particular geographical area in mind, cluster sampling is going to be designed. However, in stratified sampling, it is by some characteristic, not geographically. For instance, the population might be separated into males and females. See, the total population is there. Population will be divided based on their sex in this case. So this is male population. This is, let us take for example, for our convenience, for our understanding, population is divided into two categories, that is male population and female population. Further studies will be carried out. So a sample is taken from each of these strata using either random, systematic or convenient sampling. Again, from this male population, again, sample will be taken based on random sampling. It may be using the technique of random sampling or systematic sampling or convenience sampling, or any other method will be used. So what we have learned today, we have learned what do we mean by investigation, how many persons are there in investigation, investigator, enumerator. Like this, we have learned and what are the various steps in an investigation process. What are the various methods of collecting data? How many types of data are there? Primary data, secondary data. Again, the data can be collected from various internal sources or external sources. Again, the data may be collected from an entire population or just a sampling. It's a part of population is drawn. What are the various sampling methods? All these things we have learned today. So, thank you, dear students.